The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that only came when the wind stopped moving through the trees and the birds had gone to sleep. The river near the forest made a soft sound as the water touched the rocks. A man named Daniel walked slowly by the riverbank, his boots pressing on the wet ground. He often came here when the world felt heavy, when his small cabin felt too empty. He had no family, no friends nearby. Only the forest and the river kept him company. But tonight was not normal. Tonight he heard something strange. It was not the sound of the water or the wind. It was softer, weaker, almost hidden under the noise of the flowing river. Daniel stopped walking, his head turned quickly, his ears trying to catch the sound again, and then he heard it, a cry, a faint cry, like the voice of a newborn. Daniel's heart jumped. Who would leave a baby near the river in the middle of the night? He hurried closer, his eyes searching the shadows between the trees. The cry grew louder as he moved. It was shaky, broken, as if the child was too weak to call for help. He saw something near the edge of the water, a small shape wrapped in strange cloth. Lying on the wet stones, Daniel ran forward and bent down. His breath stopped for a moment when he pulled the bundle into his arms. It was a baby, but not like any baby he had ever seen. The skin was pale blue, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Tiny marks like silver lines ran across its cheeks. Shining like stars, the eyes opened slowly. Not brown or green, but golden. Daniel felt his hand shake as the baby cried again. This is not human," he whispered to himself. Fear touched his chest, but so did something else. The baby was helpless, cold, and alone. No matter where it came from, it needed someone. Daniel pulled his coat around the child, pressing it against his chest, trying to give warmth. He looked around, searching for anyone, but the forest was silent. Empty. No mother, no father, no footprints in the mud, only the child, as if it had been left here on purpose. The baby's breathing was strange. It struggled with the air as if every breath was a battle. Daniel panicked for a moment. What if it died right here in his arms? He didn't know what to do, but he knew he could not leave it. "Hold on," he whispered. "Just hold on." His boots splashed through the mud as he carried the child back toward his cabin. The wind began to rise, making the trees move like dark shadows. Every sound in the forest felt louder. Every broken branch made Daniel think someone was following him. When he reached his cabin, he closed the door quickly and set the baby near the fire. The golden eyes blinked weakly, the glow on its skin flickering like a dying flame. Daniel rushed to bring blankets, wrapping the small body as carefully as he could. He had nothing else, no milk, no food for a baby. But he kept the fire strong and whispered to the child to stay awake. The baby slowly calmed, breathing a little easier. Daniel stared at it, confused and afraid. "What are you?" he whispered. "Where did you come from?" The silver lines on its skin seemed to move when he spoke, glowing brighter for a moment. Daniel stepped back, his heart racing. This was no normal child. This was something the world was not ready to see. He thought of taking it to the village, but he knew what would happen. The people would be afraid. They would call it a monster, they would blame him. They might even kill it before it could speak its first word. Daniel sat near the fire all night, the baby in his arms, its glow lighting his tired face. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the cry by the river. Every time he looked down, he felt the weight of something far greater than himself. In that quiet cabin, Daniel made a choice without saying it out loud. He would protect the child, no matter the cost, even if it brought danger, even if it brought enemies. He could not leave a helpless baby to die. But deep inside, he knew this night was only the beginning, because no baby is ever left alone without someone searching for it. And somewhere out there in the darkness, someone, or something, already knew Daniel had found the child. The forest was not as empty as it seemed. The real story had just begun. The morning sun pushed through the cracks in Daniel's cabin walls. The fire had burned low, only red coals glowing in the hearth. Daniel sat on the wooden chair, his eyes heavy but still watching the baby. The child had slept for some hours, its small chest rising and falling, each breath sharp but steady. The glow of its skin was softer now, not fading but calmer, like the night had drained away its pain. Daniel rubbed his tired face. He had spent the whole night thinking. What was he supposed to do with this child? He had no milk, no supplies, not even the knowledge of how to care for a normal baby, let alone one from another world. Still, every time the child made a small sound, Daniel felt his chest tighten. Something deep inside told him he could not let go. The baby suddenly stirred. its golden eyes opening. It looked around as if searching, and then it began to cry again. Daniel panicked, moving quickly. No, no, don't cry. You'll wake the whole forest. He lifted the child into his arms. Rocking it gently, he whispered soft words. Not sure if the baby understood, but to his shock, the glowing lines on its cheeks flickered again, almost like they were answering his voice. Daniel felt a chill. Was this baby reacting to him? Or was it something else? Something hidden in the child's blood? He shook his head, trying not to think too much. The baby's cry softened, its golden eyes staring at him like it knew him. Daniel whispered, I'll keep you safe, little one. The day moved slowly. Daniel stayed inside, keeping the shutters closed. He prepared a small bed out of blankets near the fire. He even cut pieces of old cloth to make something like a cradle. Every sound outside made him nervous, the forest birds, the rustle of leaves. Even the creak of the wooden roof felt heavier now. By noon, Daniel heard footsteps near his cabin. He froze, holding his breath. The sound was light but steady, moving past the door. He looked through the crack in the window. It was one of the villagers. Carrying a basket of wood, the man didn't stop. He didn't knock, he just passed by, but Daniel's heart was still racing. If anyone learned about the child, it would mean danger for them both. Later, Daniel prepared some broth. He tried dipping cloth into the warm liquid, letting the baby suck from it. At first, the child refused, but then it accepted. Its golden eyes watching him the whole time, Daniel laughed softly. See? You're stronger than you look. As night fell again, Daniel kept the baby close. The glow from its skin lit the corners of the room in a soft blue light. But then something strange happened. A knock echoed on the wooden door, slow and careful. Daniel froze. He put the baby gently into the blanket cradle, then reached for the old hunting knife he kept on the shelf. Who's there? He called, his voice sharp. No answer came, only silence. He waited, holding his breath. Then the knock came again. 2 times slower, heavier. Daniel's hands tightened around the knife. The baby stirred in the cradle. Making a soft cry, Daniel whispered, Shh. Stay quiet. He stepped closer to the door. Every step heavy, he pressed his ear to the wood. There was no sound outside, not even footsteps. When he pulled back and looked through the window, the forest was still, but he felt it. Someone had been there. Someone watching. Daniel did not open the door. He stayed awake most of the night, knife in hand, baby by his side. The glow of the child's skin seemed brighter when the knocks came, as if the baby knew something he did not. By morning, Daniel's fear only grew stronger. This was no accident. The baby had been left in the river, but not forgotten. Whoever left it there would come looking. And now Daniel realized they already had. He held the child in his arms once more, whispering softly, I don't know why you're here. I don't know who's after you. But you are mine to protect now. The golden eyes blinked at him slowly, almost like a promise. The forest outside remained quiet. But Daniel knew the silence was a lie. He was no longer alone in his cabin. Something out there wanted the baby back, and soon they would return. The morning mist hung low over the forest, rolling down into the small village below. Daniel carried a basket of wood in his arms, his eyes heavy with worry. He had not planned to leave the cabin, but he could not survive without food and supplies. The baby was hidden under blankets back in the cabin. Sleeping near the warm fire, Daniel prayed it would not cry while he was gone. As he entered the village, heads turned. He was always the quiet one, living far away near the river, but now people stared longer than usual, as if sensing something strange. A few villagers whispered to each other, their eyes following him. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. He stopped at the small market table, buying bread and dried meat. The old woman who sold it leaned forward and whispered, Strange noises last night. Near your cabin, her eyes narrowed, like a baby crying, but not a normal baby. Daniel froze. The bread heavy in his hands, he forced a small smile. You must have heard foxes. The old woman did not look convinced. Others nearby had heard her words and now stared at Daniel with suspicion. He quickly paid and walked away, his heart racing. The whispers followed him through the narrow streets. Baby? River spirits? No demons. Every word stung like fire against his back. If they found out the truth, they would come for the child. He had to be faster, quieter. On the way back, Daniel stopped by the well. He overheard 2 men talking, their voices low. I heard it too, near the woods. A strange cry, one said. The forest isn't safe. Maybe a monster is hiding there. the other replied. Daniel turned quickly, pretending not to listen. But inside he felt fear grow. Back in the cabin, the baby stirred as he returned. Its golden eyes blinked as if it could sense his worry. Daniel whispered, "They know something. I can't let them find you." He gave the child some warm broth, watching the silver lines on its cheeks glow faintly. The glow seemed to calm him, but it also made Daniel nervous. If someone saw that light through the window, everything would be over. That night, Daniel covered every crack in the cabin walls. He hung old cloth over the windows, blocked the door with wood, but no matter what he did, he could not block out the sound of whispers in his head. Whispers of the villagers, whispers of fear, whispers of danger. Near midnight, the baby suddenly began to cry loudly. Daniel tried to hush it, but the sound filled the cabin. And then, he heard footsteps outside, slow, careful, circling the cabin like wolves in the dark. Daniel's blood ran cold. He blew out the fire. Holding the baby close to his chest, he listened, heart pounding. The footsteps stopped at the window. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then a hand pressed against the glass, long fingers. Not human, glowing faintly. Daniel held his breath. Clutching the knife in his hand, the baby whimpered softly, its golden eyes shining in the dark. The hand on the window slid away, and the footsteps faded into the night. Daniel stood frozen for minutes. Was it a villager, or was it something else? He could not be sure, but he knew the whispers were not just in the village anymore. The forest itself was watching him. The next morning, he returned to the market. Acting calm though his body shook inside, the villagers were gathered near the well. Speaking in hushed voices, one woman said, "Something is in those woods. I saw lights last night," another added, "and the crying. It is not human, I swear it." Daniel kept his head down, buying flour and salt quickly, but he could feel their eyes burning into him. Some of them already suspected him. When he walked back through the forest, he thought about leaving. He could take the baby and run, but where would he go? If the villagers didn't find him, then the other thing, the one with glowing hands, surely would. As he reached his cabin, he saw something strange in the dirt near the door. Footprints not his own. Long, wide, and deep. Pressed into the soft ground, they led up to the cabin, then disappeared into the trees. Daniel stared for a long time, holding his breath. The whispers of the village had turned into footsteps in his home, and somewhere in the shadows of the forest, someone was hunting for the child. The cabin stood silent under the pale moonlight. Daniel sat near the fire, the baby resting in his arms. The night felt heavier than before, each sound outside sharper, each shadow longer. The glowing child had fallen asleep, its breath soft, its silver lines dim. But Daniel could not rest, his eyes fixed on the wooden door. He remembered the glowing hand at the window the night before, whoever that was. They were close, too close. The wind shifted, carrying strange scents from the forest, not the usual pine and earth, but something sweeter, sharper, almost metallic. Daniel's skin prickled. The baby stirred. A faint whimper leaving its lips, Daniel whispered softly, "Shh, it's all right, I'm here." But even as he spoke, he heard it, a knock, slow and heavy. Against the door, Daniel froze, his heart pounding like a drum. He held the baby tighter, knife in his other hand. The knock came again, firmer, demanding. He whispered to himself, "Not a villager. Not at this hour." Then a voice spoke from outside. A woman's voice, low, trembling but strong. Open the door, please." "My child," Daniel's chest tightened. His eyes fell on the baby in his arms, glowing faintly under the firelight. The woman outside called it her child. His mind raced. Was she telling the truth? Or was this a trick to take the baby away? The knock turned into pounding. "Human, I know you have him. Give me back my son." The baby cried out as if answering the voice, its golden eyes opening wide, the silver marks glowing brighter. Daniel's hand shook on the knife. He looked at the door, then back at the baby. "What am I supposed to do?" He whispered slowly. He stood and moved closer to the door. "Who are you?" Daniel shouted. The voice answered, rougher now, filled with desperation. "I am his mother. I searched the river. I followed the glow. He is mine. Give him to me before it's too late." Daniel's mind spun in circles. The child had been abandoned. Why would a mother leave her baby to the river? Why now, after days, would she appear? His instincts told him something was wrong, but another part of him saw the truth in her voice, the pain of a mother who had lost her child. Before he could decide, another sound echoed through the trees. A second voice, sharper, stronger, filled with rage. You lie. The child is mine. Open the door, human, before I tear it down. Daniel's blood turned cold. Two voices, two women, both demanding the child. The pounding grew louder. One from the door. One from the window, the baby screamed. The cabin filled with its glow. Daniel staggered back, holding the child close to his chest. Two mothers? He whispered. This isn't possible. The first woman shouted, Do not trust her, she will use him for power. The second voice answered, And you would let him die weak and alone. Give him to me. The baby cried harder, its glow pulsing like waves through the cabin. Daniel's heart raced, fear and confusion twisting inside him. If he opened the door, he risked giving the baby to the wrong one. If he didn't open, both might break in and kill him for it. The pounding suddenly stopped, silence pressing against the walls. Then from the window Daniel saw her. A tall figure, cloaked in dark fabric, her skin glowing faint blue, her eyes sharp and silver. She stared at him through the glass, her lips moving slowly. Please, give me my child. From the door, another shadow stretched across the cracks of wood. Another woman, her voice dripping with anger. Don't believe her, human. She lies. The child belongs to me. Daniel stood in the middle of the cabin, the baby screaming in his arms. His hands shook. His throat dry, he was trapped. Two alien women outside, both claiming the child. The fire crackled behind him, the glow of the baby mixing with the light. Daniel whispered to himself, How do I know who to trust? And then, as if answering, the baby turned its head toward the window, its golden eyes fixed on the first woman. The silver lines on its cheeks flared bright. The child reached out its tiny hand toward the glass. Daniel gasped, staring between the baby and the figure outside. For the first time, the baby had chosen, but the night was far from over, because the other woman at the door let out a sharp cry of fury. Her fist slammed against the wood, making the cabin shake. Human, you will regret this choice. The cabin felt smaller than ever. The air was heavy with fear, the firelight shaking against the wooden walls. Daniel stood in the center, the glowing baby in his arms outside the window. One woman waited with desperate eyes. At the door, the other pounded with rage. Her voice sharp like a blade. Give him to me, shouted the woman at the door. Her fists rattled the wood, dust falling from the ceiling. From the window, the softer voice cried out, No, human, she lies. If you open the door, she will destroy him. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. The baby cried louder, the silver lines on its cheeks glowing like fire. The light filled the cabin, spilling through the cracks of the walls. Daniel whispered, Quiet, please, they'll tear this place apart. The woman at the door suddenly shouted words Daniel did not understand. Strange sounds, harsh and broken. The baby jerked in his arms, screaming as if it recognized the language. The woman at the window shook her head, her hands pressing against the glass. No, don't listen to her. She wants to use him. She wants his power. Daniel shouted, his voice breaking. Stop, both of you. I don't know who you are, I don't know what this child means, but he is not leaving my arms until I know the truth. The cabin fell silent for a moment. Only the crackling fire and the child's weak sobs filled the air. The woman at the window lowered her hood. Her face came into the light. Pale blue skin with silver patterns that moved like flowing water. Her silver eyes glistened with tears. She whispered, He is my son. I gave birth to him, I bled for him, and I would die for him. Please, human, do not let her take him. Daniel stared at her, her words sinking into his heart. There was pain in her eyes, real pain, the kind no lie could easily create. But before he could speak, the door cracked under another blow. The second woman's voice roared through the wood. You fool! She abandoned him. She cast him into the river to save herself. I was the one who kept him hidden. I was the one who swore to raise him strong. He belongs to me. Daniel's arms tightened around the child. The baby's glow pulsed faster as if it could feel the heat of the fight. He whispered, You both can't be his mother. One of you is lying. The woman at the window pressed her hand harder against the glass, her voice shook. She wants the child for his blood, for his light. Do you not see it? He is special, human. His birth will change everything. That is why she wants him. The pounding at the door grew louder, cracks forming in the wood. The furious voice thundered, And you are weak. You gave him up once, you will do it again. Hand him over before your cabin burns. Daniel's mind raced. He thought of the night at the river, the way the baby had been left alone. Could a true mother abandon her child? But then he looked at the silver-eyed woman's face. The sorrow etched deep. Was it possible she had no choice? His thoughts twisted like a storm, no clear answer, only fear. The baby suddenly stretched its tiny hand toward the window, its golden eyes fixed on the woman outside. Daniel gasped. The child had chosen her again. The silver-eyed woman's tears fell as the glow from the baby touched her hand through the glass. But before Daniel could move, the door burst open with a crash. The second woman stepped inside. Her face fierce, her eyes burning red. Her skin glowed darker, her presence filling the cabin with heat. "Give him to me now," she roared. The fire in the hearth flared. The baby screamed. Daniel staggered back, holding the child tighter. The silver-eyed woman smashed the window open. Climbing halfway through, the two alien women faced each other across the room, their voices clashing like thunder. Daniel stood frozen in the middle, caught between them, his knife in one hand. The glowing baby in the other, he shouted, "Enough! If you want this child, then prove to me who you are. Tell me the truth I cannot deny." For a moment, the cabin was silent. Then the silver-eyed woman whispered, her voice trembling with pain. "When he was born, his light burned brighter than the stars. The elders feared him. They wanted him dead. I begged them to spare him. I begged until they broke my chains. I sent him away down the river so they could not kill him. It was the only way to keep him alive." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He looked at the baby, then back at her face. The other woman snarled, "Lies, all lies. You gave him up because you were weak. But I will make him strong. He will be a weapon, not a burden." The fire roared. The baby glowed brighter than ever. Daniel felt the weight of the world in his arms. He knew this was not just about one child. This was about two worlds colliding, and in the middle stood one human man, forced to decide who lived and who lied. The cabin shook as if the very forest pressed against it. Daniel stood in the center, the glowing child tight in his arms. One woman stood by the broken window, silver eyes wet with tears. The other towered inside the doorway, her red eyes burning with fury. Both stared at him, their voices still echoing in his head. The baby's glow filled the cabin, washing the walls in golden light. Its cries rose higher, sharper, as if begging Daniel to understand. He whispered, "Quiet now, little one. I will not let them hurt you." But even his soft words could not calm the storm inside. The silver-eyed woman stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. "You have heard part of it, human. The elders feared him. They said his birth was a curse, a danger to our kind. But I knew the truth. His light is not death. It is hope." Her hands pressed against her chest as if the words tore her apart. "I sent him away. Yes, I let him drift down the river, but not because I wanted to. Because if I had kept him, they would have burned him alive before sunrise. It was the only way to save him." Daniel felt his throat tighten. The pain in her voice was too sharp, too real to ignore. But then the other woman stepped closer, her dark glow pushing against the firelight. Her red eyes locked onto the child like claws. "Do not listen to her. She is weak. She cared more for her own safety than for her son's life. I am the one who took him from the river. I am the one who protected him when others hunted. And I am the one who will raise him to rule." Her words were like knives in the air. The baby screamed louder, the golden light flashing like lightning. Daniel staggered back, the force of it making his skin burn. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice breaking. "You're tearing him apart. He can feel your anger." The two women glared at each other, neither stepping down. And then the silver-eyed woman whispered something that froze Daniel's blood. She does not want him as a son. She wants him as a weapon. His light is not just glow, human. It is power. Enough power to burn armies, to tear apart planets. If he falls into her hands, he will never be a child. He will only be a curse. Daniel's breath caught. His eyes dropped to the baby, its golden glow pulsing against his chest. Could it really hold such power? Could this small child destroy worlds? The dark-eyed woman laughed bitterly. "Do not twist the truth. Yes, he holds power, but power is meant to be used. He was born to change the galaxy, not to hide in shadows. I will shape him into what he was destined to be. A king, a destroyer, whatever is needed." Her voice thundered, shaking the walls. "You think you can hide him in this wooden box, human? The hunters already know. The soldiers are coming. They will burn this place and you with it. Only I can protect him." Daniel's chest tightened. The memory of the glowing hand at the window returned to him. The footprints in the dirt, the whispers in the village. Yes? Someone else was already searching. The hunters were real and they were coming closer. The silver-eyed woman stepped closer, her voice breaking. Do you see now? I did not lie. He was hunted from the moment he breathed. His power frightened even the strongest of us, but he is not a curse. He is a gift. He must be loved, not used. She fell to her knees, her silver eyes pleading with Daniel. Please, human, let me hold my son once more. Let him feel his true mother's arms. Only then will he know who he is. The baby's glow softened for a moment. Its golden eyes turned toward her, reaching out its small hand. Daniel's arms trembled, torn between the two. One voice promised strength and survival. The other promised love and sacrifice. And then far away, a sound echoed through the forest. A low horn, deep and terrible. Daniel's blood froze. The dark-eyed woman smiled. They are here, she whispered. The hunters. The soldiers of the elders. They will not leave without the child. The silver-eyed woman gasped, tears streaming down her face. No, it is too soon. They have found us already. Daniel ran to the window, looking out at the black trees. Faint lights moved between the trunks, slow and steady. Shadows of armored figures stepping closer. The horn sounded again, closer this time. The baby wailed. Its glow flaring bright enough to blind. Daniel pressed the child to his chest. His voice low but firm. Then I will fight for him. I don't care who he belongs to. I don't care what he was born to do. He is mine to protect now. The cabin shook as the sound of marching feet filled the night. The choice was no longer just between two women. It was between life and death, and Daniel knew the storm was about to break. The horn sounded again, louder, shaking the trees outside. Daniel gripped the baby close to his chest, his heart racing. Through the window he could see shadows moving. Armored figures carrying long weapons, their eyes glowing faint blue under the moon. The hunters had come, and they were not stopping inside the cabin. The two alien women faced each other like enemies. The silver-eyed woman, tears running down her cheeks, whispered, They will take him. They will burn him. Please, human, trust me. Give him to me and I will hide him from their fire. The red-eyed woman laughed bitterly, her voice sharp as steel. No, he is the key. With me he will not hide, he will lead. He will rise above them all. Hand him over and I will crush these hunters before they reach your door. The baby's golden glow flickered wildly. It looked from one woman to the other. Confused by their rage, its cries rose higher, filling the cabin with a strange hum. The fire bent toward the sound as if pulled by an unseen hand. Daniel felt the baby's power trembling in his arms like a storm trapped in glass. The pounding of boots drew closer. Torches lit the edge of the forest. Voices shouted in a language Daniel could not understand. He turned to the women, shouting, Enough! You both want him, but you've brought death to my door. Tell me, which one of you truly cares for him, not for power, not for war, but for him? For a long moment silence filled the cabin. Then the silver-eyed woman dropped to her knees, her voice cracked with pain. I do not want him to be a king or a weapon. I only want him to live, to breathe, to laugh, to grow as a child should. Even if he hates me for sending him away, even if he never calls me mother, I want him safe, the red-eyed woman sneered, stepping forward. Safe? He will never be safe. He was born to burn, to destroy, to rule. You speak of love, but love will not shield him from the fire outside. Only strength will. Daniel looked at the child in his arms, its golden eyes blinked through tears. He whispered, What do you want, little one? Who will you choose? And then it happened. The baby reached its small glowing hand toward the silver-eyed woman. The golden light flared bright, touching her face through the cracked window. She gasped, her tears shining like stars. The child had chosen. The red-eyed woman roared, fury filling her voice. You fool! You let weakness decide. Then you will all burn with him. She raised her hands, dark fire swirling in her palms. But before she could strike, the hunters reached the cabin. The door crashed open. Armored figures flooding inside, weapons raised, the baby screamed. The golden glow exploding outward. The force shook the cabin, throwing hunters back against the walls. Their armor cracked, their torches died. Daniel fell to his knees, shielding the child with his arms. The light poured out of the baby like a storm. Brighter and brighter, the hunters cried out in fear. Stumbling into the night, the silver-eyed woman crawled through the broken window. Reaching for her son, her hands trembled as she pulled him into her arms. The baby's glow softened, calming in her embrace. The storm of light faded into a gentle shimmer. For the first time, the child was quiet, safe. The red-eyed woman snarled, her face twisted with rage. "This is not over. You have doomed him. The galaxy will not forgive his birth, and when they return, they will kill you all." With a final scream, she vanished into the night, her dark glow fading into the trees. Daniel collapsed against the wall, his chest heaving. The silver-eyed woman held the baby close, whispering soft words in her own tongue. Then she looked at Daniel, her silver eyes shining with gratitude. "You saved him. You protected him when no one else would. You chose love, not fear. For that, I owe you everything." Outside, the forest burned with silence. The hunters were gone, scattered by the baby's power. But Daniel knew they would return, stronger and angrier. He looked at the woman and the child, his voice low but steady. "Then we don't have much time. If he's to live, we'll have to run, hide, and fight when we must. He's not just your son anymore. He's mine too." The woman's tears fell again, but this time they carried hope. She nodded, holding the child tightly. "Yes, together," she whispered. And in that broken cabin under the fading glow of the alien child, a fragile family was born. But outside, the storm of war was only beginning.